Well, Kirsten Neuschafer has been named Female 2023 Sailor of the Year at an award ceremony in Malaga, Spain recently. The Gqeberha-born athlete became the first woman to finish first in the solo Golden Globe race earlier this year. And she joins us now via Zoom. I'm going to assume she's still in Spain. Are you still in Spain?
I'm actually back in Gqeberha.
Oh, it's a pity you couldn't drive up to Joburg and just have this interview face to face. Well, congratulations on winning such a prestigious award. I think that must be said first. You must be feeling quite accomplished considering, defeating other finalists to the crown.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been amazing. I wanted to win, but then I didn't think I'd get all the accolades afterwards. So I'm very stoked about it all.
Yeah, not only were you congratulated, obviously, by all the people that we know as we expected. I mean, you would have known, but also President Cyril Ramaphosa took the time to also congratulate you. That must be quite an honor. It's
a huge honor. It really, really is. It's something I'll cherish for the rest of my life.
Yeah, first South African to win this award at the esteemed World Sailing Awards. Do you believe your achievement now will inspire a lot of young South Africans, and particularly women, to take up sailing in this country?
Well, I hope so, because we've got a long coastline to be practicing sailing, and I've always been of the opinion that sailing is in many aspects more a mental sport than a physical sport, so there's no reason why the women shouldn't be in that sport too.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it's quite a grueling sport. I mean, water, I'm not best friends with water or anything like that. But let's talk about the race itself. You spent more than, 235 days at sea, sailing just under 90,000 nautical kilometers in around the world race. But you also accomplished this without any technology. Why? Firstly, why would you do that? And also, you single-handedly did this by yourself. Maybe perhaps take us through your journey. And also, why would you do this without technology?
Well, the race dates back to 1968. So the first replica happened in 2018, and the 22 edition was the second replica. So you may only use the technology that existed in 1968. So you use a sextant, a compass, and a paper chart to navigate.
Oh, wow. Okay. I definitely would have failed that test. But also just take us through those 235 days at sea.
So you start up in France, and it's a little bit difficult getting out there, but then eventually you get through the tropics where it's hot and you have to deal with the light winds. And then eventually you pass Cape Town and you get into the Southern Ocean where it gets cold and stormy. And that goes on right across the Indian Ocean past Australia, then across the whole Pacific up to Cape Horn, and then you round the Horn and you go back up to France again, and then you have to deal with the tropics and the light winds again after the stormy areas.
So basically, layman's term, you're touring, but without getting onto land.
Yes, so you're not allowed to stop. You can obviously stop if you have no wind, and you can jump off the boat and have a swim, but you can't go into a port, you can't go ashore, and you can't get any assistance. No one may give you water or tools or food or anything like that.
I can't think of anything more horrifying. But this is why you do what I do and I do what I do. But let's talk about also, no assistance and all of that, but you had to rescue a fellow competitor who was in trouble. Could you perhaps recount what happened and are you able to help them?
Sure. Well, for emergencies, we obviously did have modern communication like satellite. So I got satellite communication to say that in the Indian Ocean, about 500 miles off the South African coast, the Finnish competitor Tapio Lehtonen's boat had sunk within less than 30 minutes. And that at that point in time, I was the closest person on the planet to him. So they asked me if I could immediately go to his assistance, which I then did. And I found him about 24 hours later drifting in his life raft.
Oh, wow. Is he okay now?
Yeah, he was fine. He was amazingly positive. He was happy to see me. And then an hour later, a ship came and we could transfer him onto the cargo ship and I could carry on with the race.
Oh, that's amazing. But you, speaking of amazing things, you were the only female there of the 15 athletes. Did you feel intimidated at all?
No, not really. I felt very much like I was there as an equal, and I'd been concentrating on my own boat and my own race. I hadn't been too worried about what anyone else was doing. I thought each one has to sail their own race. So I was feeling confident when I got to the start.
Yeah, speaking of confidence, Olympics 2024, this is an Olympic sport. What sort of prospect do you believe you have for the games next year?
I don't think I stand a chance because the Olympic sailing is very different to this offshore sailing. So I wouldn't even try to qualify.
Okay, perhaps then maybe let's take a step back and you take us through this race. What's the criteria to being able to do this race?
Well, you need the right kind of boat. So the boat also needs to conform back to the era of 1968. So they're not actually racing boats. They're cruising boats. They're heavy boats. They're slow boats. So they need to be really, really strong because you're going to have to deal with the weather that comes your way. And then you would have had to sail a minimum of 2,000 nautical miles alone on your boat, doing celestial navigation to show that you do know how to do it. And then there are many things you have to have done to your boat to strengthen it and make sure that it ticks all the boxes.
Sounds costly.
It is. So you need to try and get sponsors. That's the best way to do it because obviously a boat and a big refit are quite expensive. It was difficult for me to get sponsors because I was doing my campaign throughout the pandemic. But I had a lot of people privately assisting me and I made a lot of debt.
Sorry to hear that. Hopefully you can pay them back. But last one before I let you go. What's the current state of sailing in the country? And do you believe it's easily accessible?
I think it's becoming more accessible. It's still not easily accessible because it's still an expensive sport by virtue of needing to have a boat or needing to have access to someone who has a boat and paying the mooring fees and everything else. But I think there are a lot of job opportunities in the marine and the sailing industry, not necessarily as a competitive sport, but in terms of doing deliveries and all that kind of thing. So I would encourage people who like being on the water and at sea to pursue it.
Oh, wait, does this mean you're in the Navy?
Sorry?
Are you in the Navy?
The Navy's also.
No, but what about you? When you're not doing the sport, what are you doing for the other days of the year?
When I'm not doing it as a competitive sport, I've been working as a delivery skipper, delivering boats that are built in Cape Town, and we've got quite a big boat building industry in South Africa, delivering them offshore and otherwise working on charter boats.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. I've learned so much already. I mean, it's definitely, it's not something I will take up, but I hope some of our viewers look at this and be like, that's a little difference. Thank you so much, Kirsten Neuschafer, who is joining us from Kabeja, chatting all things sailing. She just won the 2023 Sailor of the Year award in Spain. So that's quite a remarkable one. Even President Cyril Ramaphosa sent her a shout out.